Ambassador Zolthek paced back and forth in his private quarters aboard the Eternal Dawn. The communication device on his desk blinked with an incoming message from the Viridian High Command. He had been waiting for 6 hours for instructions, watching as the human fleet maintained its position without any sign of backing down. The holographic image of Supreme Commander Veldrek appeared above the device. The ancient Viridian's 6 arms moved in agitation as he spoke. Ambassador, explain to me how a primitive species with 1 starship has assembled a fleet of 3,000 vessels in less than 2 days. Supreme Commander, I do not understand. Either, according to our intelligence, they had no military fleet beyond a few patrol craft. These ships appear to be converted civilian vessels from across their entire solar system. Zolthek stopped pacing and faced the hologram. They united their entire spacefaring population for this confrontation. This is impossible. No species has ever responded to first contact with military force. They always submit or attempt to negotiate better terms. Veldrek's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied reports from his advisors. What is their current posture? Defensive but determined. They maintain formation but have not made any aggressive moves. Their leader, Captain Morrison, claims they want friendship but refuse to accept junior member status in the Council. Zolthek activated his tactical display. Their combined firepower could inflict serious damage on our escorts. Could they defeat your task force? Zolthek hesitated before answering. Unknown Supreme Commander. Their technology is primitive, but they have numerical superiority and appear willing to fight. Our tactical analysis suggests we would win, but at significant cost. The Supreme Commander fell silent for several minutes. In the background, Zolthek could hear urgent conversations between council members who had never faced this situation before. Finally, Veldrek spoke again. The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session. Do not engage the humans unless they attack first. We need time to consider our options. The communication ended, leaving Zolthek alone with his thoughts. He returned to the command center where Lieutenant Veltar continued monitoring the human fleet. The ships remained in perfect formation, their crews clearly prepared for battle but showing remarkable discipline. Any changes in their deployment? Zolthek asked. No, sir. They maintain defensive positions but continue broadcasting friendship messages on all frequencies. They have also been transmitting detailed information about their culture and technology. Veltar looked up from her station. Ambassador. They appear to be treating this as a diplomatic mission despite the military presence. Meanwhile, aboard the command vessel UAS Defiance, Admiral Sam Collins coordinated with fleet commanders spread across the formation. The converted civilian ships lacked military-grade weapons, but their crews had trained intensively during the journey from Earth. More importantly, every person in the fleet understood what they were fighting for. Admiral, we are receiving another transmission from the alien escort ships, reported Communication Officer Ben Torres. They are requesting clarification of our intentions. Send them the same response as before, Collins ordered. We are here to support Captain Morrison's diplomatic mission. We have no hostile intentions, but will defend ourselves if attacked. Dr. Emma Foster worked at a science station on the bridge, analyzing the alien technology signatures. Algorithms had been studying Council communication protocols for hours, looking for ways to establish better understanding between the species. Admiral, I think I found something important, she said excitedly. The Galactic Council has never encountered a species that unified this quickly for military action. Their entire expansion model is based on divide-and-conquer tactics. Explain, Collins said. They approach new species when they are divided and weak. They offer protection to individual nations or groups, creating dependency before introducing Council control. They have never faced a species that presents a united front from the beginning. Emma highlighted sections of intercepted Council communications. They literally do not have protocols for this situation. Captain Morrison, now aboard the Defiance for better coordination, studied the analysis with interest. So we broke their playbook just by working together. More than that, Captain, we demonstrated something they thought was impossible. Every other species they contacted was either too primitive for space travel or too divided to mount unified resistance. We are the first to achieve both technological capability and political unity. The breakthrough came 12 hours later when Dr. Foster successfully established a direct communication link with the Galactic Council chambers on the Viridian homeworld. Her message, crafted using linguistic patterns that respected Council protocols while asserting human independence, reached the highest levels of galactic government. The response was unprecedented. For the first time in over 2 centuries, the Galactic Council voted to recognize a newly contacted species as an independent power rather than demanding submission. The decision sent shockwaves through galactic politics as dozens of other species began questioning their own relationships with Council authority. Ambassador Zelthek received his new orders with mixed feelings. The Council had decided to withdraw all Viridian forces and begin formal diplomatic relations with humanity as equals. His career as a first contact specialist was effectively over. Since the humans had proven that the old methods no longer worked, Ambassador Captain Morrison said during their final communication, "We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples. Humanity has much to learn from the galactic community." Perhaps Zelthek replied quietly, "The galactic community has something to learn from humanity as well." As the Viridian ships prepared to depart, Zelthek filed his final report about the humans. He noted that they represented something entirely new in galactic civilization. A species that viewed first contact not as an opportunity for submission, but as the beginning of negotiation between equals. The human fleet began dispersing back to their homes and duties across the solar system. Cargo ships returned to their trade routes. Mining vessels went back to the asteroid belt. Research ships resumed their scientific missions. But the precedent had been set, and the galaxy would remember, years later when other species learned about humanity's first contact. They began organizing their own resistance movements against Council control. The humans had shown that unity and determination could overcome technological disadvantage. They had proven that freedom was worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty as it headed back toward Earth. Through the window, he could see the last of the human ships jumping too faster than light speed. Humanity had announced its presence in the galaxy not as subjects or supplicants, but as a free people ready to take their place among the stars. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of possibilities. And for the first time in galactic history, a new species had entered that universe on their own terms. Captain Jake Morrison walked into the meeting room aboard the alien ship with steady steps. The room was huge, bigger than his entire command deck. The walls were made of smooth black metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols glowed blue along the edges, and the air smelled like ozone and something else he could not identify. Ambassador Zelthek sat at the far end of a long table that could seat 20 people. The alien was enormous, at least 8 feet tall, even while sitting down. His gray skin looked like thick leather, and his 6 arms moved with careful precision as he gestured toward a chair. 2 armed guards stood behind him, their weapons clearly visible. "Welcome, Captain Morrison," Zelthek said through a small device that translated his words into English. "Please, sit. We have much to discuss." Jake took the offered seat, noting how comfortable it was despite being designed for aliens. His science officer, Lisa Park, sat beside him with a tablet computer ready to record everything. Commander Rick Hayes remained standing near the door, his hand resting casually near his sidearm. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Zelthek explained the Galactic Council with the patience of someone who had given this speech many times before. The Council controlled thousands of worlds across the galaxy. They maintained peace through strength and wisdom. New species like humanity had 2 choices: join as junior members or face the consequences of isolation. "Your species shows promise," Zelthek said, his 4 eyes studying Jake carefully. "You have achieved faster than light, travel quickly. You show unity in your exploration efforts. The Council is prepared to welcome Earth as a protected world." Jake listened without interruption as the alien explained the terms. Humanity would receive protection from hostile species and access to basic Council technology in return. Earth, would follow council laws, limit expansion to 3 approved star systems, and provide tribute of rare metals and military service. The alternative was immediate occupation to prevent humanity from becoming a threat to galactic stability. This is a generous offer, Zalthak continued. Many species would consider themselves fortunate to receive such terms on first contact. Jake nodded slowly. I understand. This is a big decision for my people. I need time to discuss these terms with my government. Of course, how much time do you require? 48 hours should be enough. Zelthek seemed pleased by this response. Very reasonable. We will wait here for your answer. I am confident your leaders will see the wisdom in accepting our protection. The meeting ended with formal pleasantries. Jake and his crew returned to the UES Liberty and immediately set course for Earth. During the 12-hour journey, Lisa worked on her reports while Rick studied the tactical data they had gathered about the alien ships. Those weapons could turn Earth into a dead rock in about 10 minutes, Rick said quietly as he reviewed the scanner readings. Their shields are at least 50 years ahead of anything we have, and those are just the escort ships. What about their main vessel? Jake asked. It could probably take on our entire orbital defense grid and win without breaking a sweat. Rick put down his tablet and looked out the window at the stars. We are seriously outgunned here, Captain. Back on Earth, emergency meetings began within hours of the Liberty's return. President Kate Williams called together world leaders, military commanders, and scientists in the largest conference room at the United Nations building in New York. The debate was intense, but respectful as everyone understood the gravity of the situation. Admiral Sam Collins, head of the Earth Defense Force, presented the military analysis. Their technology is superior in every way. Their smallest escort ship has more firepower than our largest battleship. We have exactly 1 functional starship against an empire that spans hundreds of worlds. Dr. Alex Turner, director of the Global Space Initiative, argued for accepting the alien terms. The technological gap is simply too large to overcome. If we refuse their offer, they could destroy our civilization. At least under their protection, humanity would survive. General Mary Rodriguez disagreed strongly. Throughout human history, we have faced impossible odds and found ways to overcome them. The Romans thought they were unstoppable until they met determined enemies. Hitler believed his technology would conquer the world. Every tyrant thinks their power makes them invincible. President Williams listened to both sides before speaking. What do our allies think? The responses came quickly from around the world. The European Federation rejected surrender. The African Union voted for resistance. The Asian coalition chose to fight. South America wanted to negotiate from a position of strength. Even the smallest nations agreed on one point: humanity would not bow to alien masters without a fight. The decision is unanimous, President Williams announced. We reject their ultimatum. Now we need to figure out how to back up that rejection. This was when something extraordinary happened. Within hours of the announcement, offers of support began flooding in from across the solar system. The Mars colonies volunteered their cargo ships. Asteroid mining companies offered their heavy transports. Research stations throughout the outer system pledged their vessels to the cause. Admiral Collins worked with his staff to coordinate the response. We cannot match their technology, but we can match their numbers. Every ship capable of faster than light travel will join Captain Morrison when he returns to the meeting point. The Luna shipyards became a hive of activity. Workers labored around the clock to install weapons and armor on civilian vessels. Cargo ships received missile pods welded to their hulls. Mining barges got military-grade shields powered by fusion reactors. Even luxury yachts were fitted with laser turrets and reinforced armor plating. Dr. Emma Foster, a physicist working on the project, explained the strategy to her team. We cannot build weapons that match theirs, but we can build enough weapons to make attacking us very expensive. Even primitive missiles can damage their ships if we fire enough of them. The transformation was remarkable. In just 40 hours, humanity converted nearly every spacefaring vessel into a makeshift warship. Merchant captains learned basic military tactics. Scientists practiced damage control procedures. Civilians volunteered to serve as gunners and communication officers. Captain Morrison received his orders as the deadline approached, turned to the meeting point with humanity's answer. As the EU's Liberty prepared to depart Earth, it was joined by an ever-growing fleet. Ships streamed in from every corner of the solar system, their crews united by a single purpose. By the time they reached Jupiter's orbit, Morrison commanded not one ship, but over 3,000 vessels of every size and type imaginable. The fleet stretched across thousands of kilometers, organized with military precision despite the diverse origins of the ships. Humanity had spoken, and their answer was clear. They would make their own way among the stars. Ambassador Zelthik sat in his command chair, feeling very pleased with himself. The 48-hour deadline was almost over, and soon he would receive the human surrender. He had already prepared his report to the Galactic Council about another successful integration. The humans would join the dozens of other species that now served the greater good under Council guidance. Lieutenant Veltar monitored the sensor stations with lazy attention. Her 4 eyes scanned the displays showing empty space around their position near Jupiter. The massive planet's red spot swirled slowly in the distance, a reminder of the raw power that existed in the universe. Power that the Council had learned to harness and control. Any sign of the human ship? Zalthek asked, without much interest. Not yet, Ambassador. They still have 6 hours before the deadline expires. Veltar checked her instruments again. Wait, I am detecting something approaching. From the direction of their home system? Zelthek nodded. The Liberty, no doubt. It's probably transmitting their acceptance of our terms already. But something was wrong with the sensor readings. Veltar stared at her screen with growing confusion. Ambassador, I am reading multiple contacts. Many multiple contacts, explained Zelthek said, his voice carrying the first hint of concern. I count at least 50 ships approaching our position. The computer is still analyzing the signatures. Veltara's hands moved quickly across her controls. Wait, 100 ships? No, more than that. Zalthek stood up from his chair and walked to the main display screen. The tactical readout showed dozens of small dots moving toward their position. As he watched, more dots appeared every few seconds. Are these ships armed? Scanning now. Veltar worked frantically at her station. Ambassador, these vessels show energy signatures consistent with weapon systems. Primitive weapons, but definitely military in nature. The ambassador felt a cold sensation in his stomach. In 47 previous first contact situations, no species had ever returned with a military force. They came back with messages of surrender, sometimes with gifts or trade offers, but never with weapons. How many ships are we looking at? Count keeps rising, sir. 500, 800, 1,000. Veltar's voice became strained. Ambassador, I have never seen anything like this. The formation stretches across thousands of kilometers. Zalthek activated his personal communicator and contacted the escort ships. Commander Kreltok, are you seeing this? Yes, Ambassador. My tactical officer confirms over 1,000 human vessels approaching. They appear to be civilian ships that have been converted for military use. The voice of the escort commander carried obvious worry. What are your orders? Maintain position. Do not take any hostile action unless they attack first. Cut the communication and stared at the growing fleet on his screens. This cannot be happening. No species responds to first contact with a military fleet. More ships continued to appear as the human armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Mining vessels with missile pods welded to their hulls. Cargo ships bristling with improvised weapons. Search vessels that had been converted into carriers for smaller attack craft. Even luxury yachts that now mounted laser turrets where their observation decks used to be. Lieutenant Veltar updated her count every few minutes. 1,500 ships? 2,000? 2,500? Her voice became quieter with each report. Ambassador, they are organizing into attack formations. The human fleet arranged itself with surprising skill. Larger vessels formed the front lines while smaller ships took positions for flanking attacks. Support vessels moved to protected positions in the rear. Communication signals flowed between the ships as their commanders coordinated their movements like a well-trained Military force. Get me a communication link to the Liberty, Zalthek ordered. His hands were shaking now, though he tried to hide it from his crew. In all his years of service, he had never felt genuine fear during a first contact mission. The Council's power had always been absolute. Captain Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. The human looked calm and confident, showing no sign of fear or uncertainty. Behind him, Zalthek could see the bridge of the Liberty, with crew members working at their stations with quiet efficiency. Ambassador Zalthek, Morrison said with polite formality, "Thank you for waiting for our response, Captain Morrison. I see you have brought additional vessels. This is highly unusual." Zalthek struggled to keep his voice steady. "Are you here to discuss the terms of surrender?" Surrender? Morrison seemed genuinely surprised by the question. "Ambassador, humanity has considered your generous offer very carefully. We have discussed it with our leaders, our military commanders, and our civilian population. The answer is unanimous." Zalthek waited for the expected acceptance speech. Instead, Morrison continued with words that no species had ever spoken to a council representative. "We respectfully decline your offer. Humanity chooses to make its own way among the stars." The ambassador felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. "Captain, I do not think you understand the consequences of refusing council protection. There are hostile forces in this galaxy that would destroy your entire species. We understand the risks, Ambassador. We also understand that freedom is worth fighting for." Morrison gestured toward something off-screen. "We would prefer to be friends with the Galactic Council, but we will not be your subjects." On the tactical display, the human fleet had finished organizing itself. 3,000 ships now faced the 3 Viridian vessels. Each human ship was smaller and less advanced than its alien counterpart, but their combined firepower represented a serious threat. More importantly, their very presence sent a message that no council representative had ever received before. Commander Rick Hayes appeared next to Morrison on the communication screen. "Ambassador, we are transmitting technical specifications. For our defensive capabilities, we hope this information will help you understand that while we may be new to galactic politics, we are not helpless." The data package arrived moments later. Veltor analyzed it quickly and reported to Zalthek in a whisper. "Their individual ships are weak, but they have enough combined firepower to damage our vessels. They coordinate their attacks properly. They could potentially destroy one of our escort ships." Zalthek realized that everything had changed. The humans had not followed the established pattern. They had not accepted council authority. Instead, they had demonstrated their willingness to fight for their independence, backing their words with the largest fleet ever assembled for a first contact situation. "Captain Morrison," Zalthek said slowly, "I must contact my superiors for guidance. This situation is unprecedented." "We understand, Ambassador. We will wait for your response." Morrison's image disappeared from the screen. Zalthek collapsed into his command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed 3,000 human ships maintaining their formation. For the first time in his career, he had no idea what would happen next. Ambassador Zalthek stood in the center of his command ship, looking at the star charts that covered the metal walls. His 6 arms moved quickly across the control panels as he checked the data one more time. The blue lights from the screens made his gray skin look even paler than usual. Today was important. Today he would meet a new species for the first time. The reports about these creatures called humans were simple. They lived on a small blue planet near a yellow star. They had just learned how to travel faster than light speed. This made them ready for contact with the Galactic Council. Zalthek had done this job many times before. He knew exactly what would happen. His ship, the Eternal Dawn, was massive. It stretched for 2 miles from front to back. The metal hull was covered with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Blue energy flowed through tubes along the sides, powering shields that could stop almost any attack. 2 smaller ships flew beside him, each one carrying enough firepower to level a planet's surface. Lieutenant Veltar walked up to Zalthek with a datapad in her hands. Her 4 eyes blinked slowly as she read the information. "Ambassador, the human ship is 3 hours away. Our scouts confirm it is alone, just as we expected. Zalthek nodded his large head. His mouth, which had 2 rows of sharp teeth, curved into what might have been a smile. Good, have you prepared the standard? Welcome package? Yes, sir. Translation devices are ready. The treaty documents are loaded into our computers. The gift of basic technology is waiting in Storage Bay 7. Veltar paused and looked at her datapad again. The humans call their ship the UES Liberty. It carries 30 crew members and appears to be armed with primitive missiles and energy. Weapons? Primitive weapons? Zalthek repeated with amusement. How typical. They always think their little guns will make a difference. He walked to the large window that showed the empty space around them. Stars twinkled like tiny diamonds against the black background. Tell me about their leader, Captain Jake Morrison, age 42. He served in their planetary military before. Joining their space program, the humans seemed to respect him. Veltar showed him a picture on her datapad. He looks like most of their species. 2 arms, 2 legs, hair on the top of his head. Zalthek studied the image. The human looked so small and weak compared to his own people. The Viridians were 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin that could stop bullets. They had 6 powerful arms and could lift weights that would crush most other species. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of these newcomers. What about their planet's defenses? Zalthek asked. Almost nothing, sir. They have a few orbital stations and some small patrol ships. Their entire space fleet could not match one of our escort vessels. Veltar put away her datapad. They will accept our terms quickly. They have no choice. The ambassador walked back to his command chair, which was made from the metal of a conquered world. He had sat in this chair 47 times before, each time meeting a new species that had just discovered faster than light travel. The pattern was always the same. First came fear when they saw his powerful ships. Then came desperate attempts to negotiate. Finally came acceptance of the Galactic Council's generous offer. The offer was simple and fair. New species could join the Council as junior members. They would receive protection from hostile aliens and access to basic technology. In return, they would follow Council laws, limit their expansion to approved worlds, and provide tribute in the form of resources. In military service, those who refused the offer faced immediate occupation for the good of galactic peace. The door to the command center opened with a soft hiss. 2 Viridian guards entered, their armor gleaming under the lights. Each guard carried a weapon that could cut through solid steel. They would stand behind Zalthek during the meeting, a reminder of the Council's power. Ambassador, one of the guards said in a deep voice, shall we prepare the meeting room? Yes, use the standard setup. Large table, comfortable chairs for the humans, translation devices at each seat. Zalthek looked at the guards carefully. Remember, we want them to feel welcome but also understand their position. Polite but firm. The guards nodded and left to make preparations. Zalthek returned to studying the human files. Their species was young, barely 10,000 years old. They had only recently unified their own planet and were still learning how to work together. Perfect candidates for council membership under Viridian guidance. His personal communicator chimed softly. The voice of Fleet Commander Draketon filled the air. Ambassador, how do you expect this meeting to go? It's the same as always, Commander. They will bluster for a few hours, make demands they cannot enforce, then accept our terms. Zalthek touched a control that brought up images of previous first contact meetings. Remember the Korthax? They threatened to fight us with their entire fleet of 6 ships. Now they mine asteroids for our benefit and are grateful for the protection we provide. And the Zalani. They actually fired on our scout ship. We destroyed their capital city and they surrendered within hours. Now they are model citizens who follow every council law without question. Zalthek felt pride in his work. These humans will be no different. Their ship is alone. Their weapons are toys. They know they cannot win a fight. The communication ended, and Zalthek prepared for the meeting. He put on his ceremonial robes, which were covered with symbols from every world the Viridian Empire controlled. The heavy fabric made him look even larger and more impressive. Around his neck, he wore a chain made from rare metals found only on conquered planets, Lieutenant Veltar returned to the command center. Ambassador, the human ship has arrived at the meeting point. They are requesting permission to dock. Grant them permission. Have our honor guard ready to escort their captain to the meeting room? Zolthek stood up and adjusted his robes. Today, we welcome another species into the galactic community. Tomorrow, they will thank us for saving them from the chaos of independence. He walked toward the meeting room. Zolthek felt confident. The humans would follow the same pattern as every other species. By the end of the day, Earth would belong to the Galactic Council, and he would have another successful negotiation to add to his record. The universe was vast and dangerous, but under Council guidance, even the weakest species could find their place among the stars.